Hello, I'm Regina Botras, and this is Backstage, where we talk with the who's who on stage, in dance, comedy, and performing arts, speaking with the leading theatre makers of our times and how they came to the stage and what drives them and inspires them. In the studio, we're joined by award-winning actor and director, Pamela Rabe, one of Australia's most acclaimed stage and screen actors. You might have seen her in Happy Days, Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, The Cherry Orchard, The Glass Menagerie. There's some that come to mind that I've seen, and so many more. And on our smaller screens, Deadlock, Bay of Fires, Wentworth, to name just a few. She's won multiple awards, and right now she's in Doubt, a parable at the Rosalind Packer Theatre for Sydney Theatre Company, a Pulitzer Prize-winning drama set in a Catholic school in the 60s. Pamela, welcome to Stages.
Thank you, Regina, and Trish and Rod.
Yes, we're all here this evening.
Got a quorum.
So, do you want to set the scene? Written in 2004, set in a Catholic school in the Bronx in 1964. The church is the all-powerful presence at the time. What's going on around the world or in the...
Well, there were two things kind of going around. I mean, there's a kind of two parallel kind of time periods, I think. The play, as it's set, in, as you say, 1964 in the Bronx, a borough of New York City. And it's written in 2004 by John Patrick Shanley. And both those were pretty extraordinary times in the world, particularly in America. 64 in the Bronx, I mean, the nation was still reeling from the assassination of JFK. Also, it was kind of that cusp of change within the Catholic Church. Vatican II was arriving, and there was all sorts of kind of moves towards a more progressive reform of Catholic practice. But also 2004, when John Patrick Shanley wrote the play, the country was again reeling, not only just with the kind of anxiety that a change of millennia, creates, but also September 11th had happened in New York City. America had invaded Iraq. And it was a tumultuous time. And I think probably it's no accident that John Patrick Shanley reached back into his own experience. He went to a Sisters of Charity school in the Bronx. And, 1964 probably coincided with the time he was a student. Under the sisters, not unlike Sister Aloysius and Sister James. Sister Aloysius, the character I play in his play Doubt, a parable. But he was also recognizing and acknowledging something that I think was probably bothering him a great deal, with where he saw American culture was heading, and that we were, this was the time of if you're not with us, you're against us. People were they'd moved, as he says, if everybody gets their hands on the script, it's the most glorious preface that he writes to the play. And he says in there that, the world is moving from a culture of debate to a culture of confrontation. That people are no longer discussing, debating, listening to each other. They're just feeling that any symptom of uncertainty is a sign of weakness, and therefore we all have to come down firmly on one side or the other. And goodness knows where that's taken us today.
You're playing the role of Sister Aloysius, and the wonderful Sam Reid is playing Father Flynn.
Yeah, fabulous.
Yeah, fantastic. And I'm just wondering if you could explain to us the differences in the worldview of these two characters, because they are the main conflict in the play, aren't they?
Absolutely. On just a kind of superficial level, Sister Aloysius represents a kind of an old guard. They both have two very different philosophies towards teaching. And she's obviously an older Sister of Charity. They were a very special order. She represents the kind of old school philosophy around distancing yourself, being different, representing, being the guardian, the fierce moral guardians who, if they are vigilant in terms of the way they create the environment in which students can learn, the students don't have to be. And Father Brendan Flynn, as you say, so wonderfully played by Sam Reid, represents a new guard, a more progressive attitude where, human kindness, being on the same level as the students, slightly more, I say this misguidedly touchy-feely kind of attitude towards your engagement with young people. And they obviously come very much clashing in conflict, particularly when Sister Aloysius develops suspicions that some of Father Flynn's behaviour might be inappropriate.
And there's something about that seed of doubt when it gets planted, and it's planted early on between you and Sister James for her to look out for something. What is that? It's sort of like a virus, really, isn't it? The doubt plays and becomes a filter of a lens a way to look through.
Absolutely. I mean, and Father Flynn actually says at one point in a conversation he has with Sister James that, that everything looks tainted to a poisoned mind. The thing is that Sister Aloysius, who I play, has had previous experience of, as she calls it, priests who needed to be stopped. So she's on alert, and she witnesses something that she feels is enough evidence on which to be vigilant. She takes great care. I mean, she actually says, I must be careful not to create something by saying it, but just keep your eyes out, and then events occur that pushes her over to a place of certainty.
There's an incredible scene in the play between your character and Donald Mueller's mother when she comes to see you in your office.
Zinzia Kenyo, fantastic, yeah.
Fantastic actress, yes, of course, and she's playing that role. It's only one scene, but I found it very powerful. Could you explain perhaps why the mother would have this attitude, which is quite different to Sister Aloysius, about how how the child should be treated?
It's probably, I mean, it's not, Trish, I'm not really in the kind of position to argue that one, and Zinzi would be so much more eloquent about it than I would be. But I think, I mean, talking about the great change that was happening in America in 1964, it was also the beginning of major kind of civil rights. And the Bronx was a real melting pot at the time of the play. Where John Patrick Shanley set the play, the Bronx was very much a kind of quite diverse migrant community, but mostly Irish and Italian. And African-American population was starting to move into that area. It's now much more Latino and Black American. But there were very few. I mean, Donald Muller is the first Negro student to attend this Catholic St. Nicholas school. And therefore it becomes a kind of, he's vulnerable, but he's also isolated. And I mean, I don't want to give any spoilers away, but I think clearly the setting is very much kind of a fishbowl within this school, this convent and rectory. Bob Cousins has designed this beautiful, beautiful set, kind of cathedral-like almost. But you feel like they themselves are quite isolated from the community. And when Zinzi's character arrives, Donald Miller's mother, she brings the world with her. And it's a world of a very different experience than those of the priests and nuns within that Catholic parish.
We'll come back to the set in a minute, and it is just absolutely beautiful and stunning, and what it does with light and perspective. But talking about being inside the mind of a character, what was your experience of being inside Sister Aloysius and your understanding of her and her complexity, or what she's not saying? I think there's something in something I read in the program about the writer writing about what the character doesn't say, what's underneath them.
Yes, he was always saying that we were, I always find this really entertaining. I can remember the first time in Australia that we moved towards a 24-hour news cycle, and I can't even remember what the first event was. I think it was some natural disaster, and there was a big earthquake or something in San Francisco. And I remember at the time, I'm talking now 35 years ago or something, when they would, the news reporters and journalists would stick a microphone in front of somebody, an American passerby, they'd do a vox pop, and they were speaking in perfect sort of 40-second sound bites, like that Americans already at that point were groomed to, with great certainty, articulate. I was standing here, and then the bus hit the thing, and they would have it all prepared. Whereas, anywhere else in the world, we tend to kind of fumble to try to find the right words for things. And I think that John Patrick Chaney was recognizing that this kind of pressure to be absolutely certain about what you mean was pushing people to shy away from sitting in a place where you couldn't necessarily put words to the things that you were feeling inside. That the idea that there was a place of uncertainty and there were questions, but the moment you actually put words onto those thoughts, you nailed something down and you stopped keeping yourself open to all the possibilities around you. That's not a very articulate way of putting it, but here I am. I'm doing the very thing of trying to fumble to put words to something that's quite hard to articulate. To answer your question about what it feels to be inside somebody who's so certain, Sister Aloysius, well, actually, I don't think she is.
No.
But she's pretty clear about trusting. She says, I know people. She trusts her reading of the world through her life experience. In the end, I mean, what is wonderful about the play too is that each of the characters comes from a very different position, and none of us. I mean, we don't ask Sam Reed whether he thinks his character Father Flynn is guilty or not, because my character thinks he's guilty. He hasn't. He'll have his own. So we inhabit the worlds of the characters that John Patrick Shandy has created for us, and we fight fiercely from our point of view. It's such finely honed writing. Great, it's what I think the Americans do best, really, really tight, tidy plays made for actors to engage with each other. They force you to listen, to pick up on every nuance that's coming at you from across the stage. And in a funny way, in this play also, the audience is the other actor as well. I mean, we are listening for every pin drop, every gasp, every chuckle, every as we feel an audience swaying one way or another, depending on whose argument happens to be the most persuasive at any given moment. Knowing that we are giving, hopefully, if we serve the play well, a gift to that audience, which is the conversation they're going to have after the show.
Pamela, I was just wondering, does these characters, this situation, the way the Catholic Church was, does that have resonance for you? Are you? Am
I a Catholic? Are you saying?
Well, I'm just wondering. Is this? Do you think? Yes, this reminds me so much of my time or people that I knew that were in the situation.
I mean, I'm not a Catholic, and in fact, I mean, my mother was religion was quite important to her life, but she was raised in the Presbyterian faith, and we were all church-going until, I mean, I've got lots of brothers and sisters, but I'm seventh of eight, so she got quite disillusioned with the organized church when I was quite a young child, so we stopped going to church. I myself kind of flirted with organized religion when I was in my teens, as many people, as they're grappling with puberty do. And a couple of things happened that just made me realize that wasn't for me, and what I was probably more attracted to was the costumes and things. I think I'd seen Audrey Hepburn in the Nun Story, and I thought she looked fabulous.
Circles within circles.
Yes,
now doing.
Oddly enough, the kind of I was thinking about this yesterday. Somebody was asking me some questions, and I realized that my family is an endlessly rich minefield, and in a funny way, I suddenly realized I was actually doing one of my Sister Aloysius is closest to one of my family members. I realize I'm probably tapping into that more than anything else.
Do they know that?
No, and I'm not going to tell you. It's just in case it gets bad.
Well, we're only broadcasting to a very broad audience, so you don't have to worry. So.
I think he's a long way away.
What the play does really well, and you mentioned this, like this audience is there swinging in their what they believe. Yes. And I think, maybe also it's tapping into that thing of we do need to have faith in something. We do want to believe in something, and whether our beliefs are right and or wrong, and this sort of, I mean, it starts obviously at the beginning with the parable of the Lost Sailor, is it?
Yes, Father Flynn gives a sermon at the beginning of the play, which really acts as a kind of prologue on how to read the play, which is in itself, as the title says, a parable.
Yeah.
John Patrick Shanley said that, as a young Catholic boy, they were kind of spoon-fed parables all the time. And there's still some that bother him to this day. He doesn't know what they mean. And he believes really strongly that, that first sermon that Father Flynn gives, talking about how uncertainty is a bond.
And is a strength.
And a strength. That is John Patrick Shanley telling you how to kind of enter into the world of the play. But he always strongly, in every interview that I've heard John Patrick Shanley give, talks about how he feels. That the audience is actually, it's the conversations that happen afterwards. We are all hardwired to look for certainty, look for meaning, just narratively. When we have stories told to us, we just want to know what's going on. And he's asking us to sit in a place where it's not always clear. And that actually to exercise those muscles of yo-yoing around between, could it be this, could it be that, is actually where our humanity sits.
Outside
And doubt,
of the black and white.
Yeah, and doubt is a huge theme. How do you feel that the theme of doubt fits into this play, the way the play is written? I mean, you could look at child protection. By the way, Sister Aloysius, I would love her to be at my school because she's a fighter and she's amazing. I mean, I know that, we're not sort of siding with one or the other, perhaps, but I would want her to be in my, corner, really, because she really fights for the children and child protection before it was named for what it was.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think she's remarkably open-minded about all sorts of things, even the things that happen in that scene with Donald Muller's mother, too, where you think, this is just going to be a conservative battle axe, when actually it's, as you say, the welfare and well-being of the children is the foremost of her priorities.
Yeah, I just want to ask, how do you see doubt as a theme of the play? It's called Doubt, of course. How do you see that plays out in the play, that theme?
Well, that's really for the audience to kind of grapple with, I think. I mean, it's an extraordinary piece of writing, and it's an extraordinary piece of theatre writing. I think theatre is the ideal forum in a way for ideas, where you can viscerally and emotionally grapple with ideas. Film is a much more kind of emotional and psychological, even I would say dreamlike place. And some of the conversations I've had with people who have seen the film of Doubt, which is a very fine film with Meryl Streep and Philip Seymour Hoffman, Amy Adams, Violet Davis, extraordinary performances. But there's something about making a film where you actually do see the children, you see the interaction of the priest with the children, that suddenly all sorts of things start to get nailed down, other prejudices, other ways that you read meaning come into play. Whereas in the play, it's pure. You never see the children. So all of your questions that are continually arising as the play unfolds, you have to grapple with in your own mind. And in that mind of yours, John Patrick Shanley is constantly seeding doubt. Who's right? I just have to sort of see who's the most persuasive. Who do I believe in? And that's always going to be informed by your own prejudices, your own biases at any given time. It's interesting, the conversations I've had with people about when he wrote the play, 2004, just revelations about kind of the horrific things that were going down in terms of sexual abuse. The Catholic Church were really starting to come to the fore. And it was kind of at a point where the moment that those events that were being tackled in the play were being discussed, people would probably immediately start to think that Father Flynn was probably guilty of what he was accused of. And then somebody I was talking to the other day said, funnily enough, now we know so much more. There's been so much more investigation, the Spotlight team, and it's all that kind of stuff, that we are kind of actually so swamped with this information this person I was talking to said that I actually thought, oh, well, that's too easy. So the pendulum for them swang the other way. They thought it can't be that simple. So their own bias and prejudice swung them in another direction as they were watching the piece. And I thought,
because it does talk about progression as well, like this fear of progress, and that there's there's terrible things in progress, and that's that other swing. Because I think today, like you're saying, we go in with these assumptions that they're all guilty. If it's said, if there's any doubt, they're guilty. Yeah. So,
and particularly if it's on Instagram.
Oh my gosh, yes. I know, that's a whole other world, isn't it?
But I mean, that also informs things. That cancel culture has really made this a different play. So
So let's come back to the set, which is beautiful. As we said, we have this revolving set, and it's I was thinking about, because the backdrop, you have the black and white image of the Bronx. Yeah. And the perspective of it is, I kind of guessed, it wasn't until later I went, why does it kind of look like they're above it? I'm just like, they're on the hill, right? They're up high above the... No? I don't know.
In fact, I haven't. Sam was actually...
because you're in there.
I'm in there. Am I on a hill? I'm at a desk. Then I'm on a bench. Sam is just recently... In fact, Sam Reed, we had a little hiatus in our rehearsal period because Sam had to go off to New York to do he's got another life as the Vampire Lestat, which is a hugely successful series that has made him a world megastar. And we had to kind of put our rehearsals on hold because he had to go off and do a concert at the Beacon Theatre in New York City as his character. Amazing. As this vampire doing a rock concert at the Beacon. But he took a couple of hours out one morning to go and actually visit the school, the actual school, and St. Jerome's, which is the parish that Father Flynn ends up at, to go, and he came. He posted to our WhatsApp chat group and lots of videos and stuff, and had a little chat. So, but I don't know whether it was I don't think it's on a hill. It's pretty flat. Okay. But I think what Bob Cousins has created is something. It's not utterly realistic. It's a theatrical gesture towards the kind of edifice of that church, and also something that will sort of sing and be poetic in the space of the Rospacker Theatre, which is not a small theatre, and it's essentially a kind of he's giving what is essentially a chamber piece with 4 actors and giving it an operatic setting in a way that makes that I think embraces and invites you to engage in those ideas on a kind of epic level.
And that sort of circling perspectives.
Yes, our little snow dome.
Oh, it's just stunning.
It's beautiful.
And
it's so good.
Yeah, the shadows that come across the walls and the space.
That's Damien Cooper lighting.
Yeah.
Just done music.
Yeah, I know, and I think that the Catholic Church is, very famous for its iconography, and I think that comes across as well with the statue and the turning, and also the seasons are very much in the set.
Absolutely,
yeah. And I think that's quite a beautiful scene where you're in the bench with the young nun, and all of the trees have lost all their leaves, and it's just kind of that time moving, and also, I mean, those scenes were just incredible with the young nun.
Yes.
Do you feel that you crushed her, or was that...
Shannon Lewis. I think events probably... I mean, what's so interesting about the Sisters of Charity as well is that they're this order of Catholic sisters who, unlike I don't know, a traditional, what do you call a traditional nun, but they were an order that were created by Elizabeth Seton in the mid-19th century after she'd been in Italy with her husband. And he died there, but she'd been very impressed by the sisters of the followers of St. Vincent de Paul. Mm. So, I mean, they were sisters of charity. They were often married before, had children, and had taken vows later in life. My character takes her vows after her husband dies in the Second World War. And they were utterly devoted to good works, to charity. In fact, they started running orphanages in the mid-19th century in New York, and they were some of the first... orders to work with AIDS victims, with the extremely marginalised, disadvantaged people. They weren't just cloistered nuns who'd taken their vows at 16 or 15 or something like that. Sister James is unusual in the sense that she's taken her vows at a time when the sisters, well, obviously the whole Catholic Church was changing, but the initiates into that order were declining. Sister Aloysia says, not enough nuns, and not enough sisters. In fact, now they've just recently disbanded in New York, just 2 years ago. Then there's still a few elderly Sisters of Charity left, but they've closed the doors. They're taking in no new
There goes my
patients.
chance. No?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's kind of prescient in that sense. This was the beginning of that downhill slide, and Sister James is unusual in that she's a very, Sister Aloysia says, you're a very innocent person. She's a very naive, has not really met life yet, but has goodness in her soul and wants to do good things, and suddenly encounters a much more seasoned sister who has experienced some of the evil in the world, really, and has got a campaign to deal with wrongdoing in her own fashion, and it has a profound impact on this young woman who really hasn't even imagined that people can behave in unkind and unpleasant or exploitative ways. Does she crush her? I don't know, but I've often had conversations. I have a funny feeling that probably Sister James didn't stay long in the order.
Oh, yeah. Well, Pamela Rabe, it is been such a pleasure to have you in the studio, and outstanding performance on the stage.
Regina.
Thank you so much for joining us.
It's a great joy to do it. Please come see it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, that was Pamela Rabe. Playing till August
the 2nd at the Rosalind Packet Theatre.